So today in science we are going to talk about, and this is one of the most difficult concepts it seems like for students I've had in years past to understand. It's not really that hard, and you just really have to remember the different kinds of variables. So your lesson today is going to talk all about making hypotheses and making predictions, and it's going to talk a little bit about variables, so we're going to go farther into it. So a variable is something that can be changed. So I believe in your lesson you see some plants and it talks about the variables. So we have three different kinds of variables when we talk about them. We have an independent variable. So if you see this chart, it looks like we're measuring how a plant grows. So there are a couple different variables we can change. So the independent variable is what you change. So maybe I am going to have three different plants and I'm going to plant seeds all at the same time, and my independent variable that I change is going to be the amount of sunlight. So maybe I'm going to put one in direct sun, I'm going to put one under a bucket so it gets no sun, and I'm going to put one so it gets sun 12 hours out of the day. So my independent variable is what I change. The dependent variable is the responding. It's what you measure. So my independent variable, I know that I change the amount of sunlight. My dependent variable is what I'm going to measure. How will I know what it's affecting? So on this, I might measure the height of the plant. So I've got one in direct sunlight, one that gets sun half the day, and one in complete dark. My dependent variable is going to be how are those plants growing? At the end of a week, how tall are they? At the end of 2 weeks, how tall are they? And then you're going to have a controlled variable. So each time you do an experiment, each time you want to figure something out, so plant growth, we can only test for one thing at a time. So in this one, we're changing the amount of sunlight. You can't change multiple things at a time because then you won't know which one's really having the effect. So the controlled variable, or the variables that stay the same, that means that if I am just wanting to know if the amount of sunlight impacts plant growth, then I need to have the same type of soil. So all of three plants need to have the same type of soil. All three plants need to have the same size pot. All three plants need to get the same amount of water. Everything else stays the same except for the one thing that I change. So my independent variable is what I change. My dependent is what I measure. So I'm going to measure the height of the plant. That's what I'm going to see the effect of the independent variable. And then controlled variables are everything else that we keep the same, that we don't measure.